Lovelies, hello family, this is Kimberly Purpoz and welcome to my channel. I wanted to do another video that I found on HuffPost and I thought this was quite interesting. I wanted to talk about the gray washing that we often see throughout the media, and this occurs quite frequently. And the reason why we have a problem with keeping our identity and also being able to see, understand why everything has been hidden from us and how come we are not even representatively equal, have exposure, as much exposure in the media and out in throughout history in general, is because of the gray washing that's often being done. Like I just saw a video by another YouTuber that talked about the lady that donated her genetic makeup was donated to science. I can't think of the lady's name, but her DNA was used by several pharmaceutical companies to develop medicine that help people overcome many illnesses. I can't think of the lady's name, but she had pharmaceuticals pretty much stole her DNA, and they didn't get her permission. But I believe her family might be taken into court, but she did it back in the 1940s or 50s or something. And her DNA is it's a cure for many diseases or illnesses. And she was an American Aborigine. She was not, but when the Smithsonian, I think it was the Smithsonian, I'm going to research it some more. I may do a video on it. But when they did an artwork exhibit of her, instead of portraying her or showing her as a person of color or a melanated woman, even though she's fair, she's light skinned. I wouldn't say fair skinned, but was a light skinned woman, probably my color or a little bit lighter. And but really, she's American Aborigine. She's an original. She's indigenous here to the Americas, and yet they portray her as looking gray, pale, like a Caucasian. And when we put images out there in museums, in newspapers, and magazines, in the news, and everything, you show this fair image, or this I wouldn't say fair. I don't like using that term, but pale. That's a better description. This paler version of her, it passed down from history 100 years from now. People would think that she was a light-skinned woman, so you see this all the time, the gray washing of indigenous people, melanated people, as being fair-skinned, and then by the time it's passed down for centuries, they have been completely erased because their identity has been stripped away. The main essence of who they are as being melanated and being indigenous has been covered up with Caucasian. And when these people are not Caucasian, they're actually people of color. So, but this article here, I know I got a little long in it, but I just wanted to give an explanation and everything, but some background. This talks about a lot of the gray washing that takes place and the erasure of indigenous Aborigines out of the media. And one way it's often done is through movies. And movies, I say, oftentimes have an overly representation of Caucasians, which is not an exact or the depiction or is indicative of the actual population of the majority of the people on this planet globally. And so if they are not the majority of the population, then they should not be the main ones focused in the movies. And we always see that. And characters, especially people who, historic, ancient type, or even recent time and modern time histories, is oftentimes portrayed as a Caucasian as opposed to being the actual color or ethnicity of the person that actually lived and that the story is actually about. But anyway, in the story, it says here 25 times great actors play people of color and no one really gives a shit, in other words. Can't put that out there, but say that. But it says here Latin voices, and then it says here, think blackface and yellowface are a thing of the past. Get ready to cringe. And then this article was written by Carolina Moreno and Riley Author, and was published on February 2017. So let's drill down here and see what they have to say. It says, as it wasn't enough that Hollywood tackled several diversity behind in front of the camera, the industry also has a nasty, not so little habit of giving diverse roles to gray actors. Yes, they do. And like I said, they give most of the parts to Caucasians, and some of these parts, especially the ones that are actually life stories or historic information, or based on an historic bio, are melanated people, or people of color. Pretty much, it could be an Asian. You see this all the time with American Aborigines, Asians, and Hispanics, or people who are in between, and such as the Hispanic and Asians and American Aborigines. You see it all the time. And like I said, it is a problem because, like, for example, I believe it was a lot of the reason why a lot of people believe that or falsely believe that Native Americans are these pale complexion, that the American Aborigines are these pale complexion people that's portrayed in the movies, is because of the movies. They believe that, like Iron Cody, for example, he was on the commercial on TV with tears crying back in the 70s and 80s, and he's actually an Italian. He's not even an indigenous person. He's from Italy. He's not from the Americas. He's not indigenous here. And his face is a representation of what people think an American Aborigine is supposed to look like. The original people of Americas, they think that they are these Caucasian-looking Indians, or these mixed Euro Indians, or something of that kind, and is not showing the accurate depiction of what the people look like. And what they should have had was an American Aborigine, aka African American, to play the part, and it would have been more accurate as to what the indigenous Aborigines, the original people, look like. Okay, and that's a problem. And another example is all the movies that they play of indigenous people are always shown, even the Mongoloid Indians, the natives. They, instead of putting a real actual Native American Mongoloid Indian, they'll put a Caucasian in that spot, and maybe a Italian, like they did with Iron Cody, and it's still not an accurate depiction of what the Indians look like. Another thing is the Avatar. The Avatar, the movie, I was very disgusted with how they did it. There was a movie called The Avatar that came on Nickelodeon, and it was a movie about the Native Americans, They should have had a mongoloids playing those parts. And when they did, it was a cartoon. The cartoon showed them in their likeness with darker complexion skin, more looking with Asian features. But when the movie came out, instead of having a Mongoloid Indian play that part, they put nothing but Caucasians in there. And what they did instead was put a sprinkle of Mongoloids in the background to help offset that, but had the main characters Caucasian. And that is a misrepresentation of what the people are supposed to look like in the film. The cartoon was more accurate than the actual movie, and I was very disgusted about it. And they're very disappointed, and I believe my kids were disappointed too, because it's not accurate. It's not based on the real story, based on the cartoon, not even on the cartoon. So it wasn't accurate, and it was a perfect opportunity to bring some identity to children of color, and so they could see people that look like them as opposed to seeing a Caucasian. If it's a story that's based on the lives or the historic background of, people of color, such as American Aborigines, aka African Americans, such as the Mongoloid Indians, the Native Americans, Asians, people like that. You got to have real actors that could play the part, because so many actors who are minorities that can't get a part because it's constantly being hoarded by Caucasians who don't even represent the actual person or character that they are portraying in the movie. So it says, I can go on and on about this, but let's continue. It says here that meanwhile, while an average of 75.2% of speaking roles already go to Caucasian actors, according to 2014, which is ridiculous. They shouldn't even be represented. It shouldn't be that high. It's inflated. It's too many of them in there, and they don't represent the global population. They don't even represent the United States or in South America at all. It should be much lower than that. It really should be. Especially when you're looking at global, if you're doing global sales, of movies, then the actors in the film should represent the actual population of the people on the planet. If you're selling your movie globally, then globally your movies should have actors that represent the actual people that lives on this planet, not by a certain small percent who don't. And it says, according to 2014 University of Southern California study, inequality in 700 popular films, some of those part are actually actors of colors. Exactly. And oftentimes they put people of color in supporting roles as opposed to being leads. And you see that very often. And it says, over time, we have come to expect a tsunami-sized wave of backlash when an actor of color is cast as a fictional character that actors feel should be gray. Controversies over Michael B. Jordan of The Human Torch or Amanda Steinberg as Rue of The Hunger Games. I remember that. They were upset about having indigenous people playing these parts, but it's, you're hoarding pretty much, how much is that? Let's throw back up. 75% of the roles. Here it is, over 75%. You are hoarding most of the parts, and only 25% is split among three ethnic groups. It's split among minorities such as Asians and African Americans, American Aborigines, and Hispanics. You don't see, it's very disproportionate. Very disproportionate, and it's and then that got to be split among Asians, African American. The last 25% is split among the African Americans, Asians, and the Hispanics. So that leaves weird crumbs for everybody else. And so it's not an equal balance. And I think that's part of the reason why everybody's brainwashed to believing that grays are Caucasians are the standard of beauty, which they're not. Especially if they're not globally the actual people on the planet. If you're a minority and you only represent a small percentage of the human population, then you should not be the representation of everybody. Maybe they should be more like 25, no more than 50%. But you don't see that. You're not going to see it. Not right now at this time, not as long as you have them in power and making all the decisions. But that's going to change in time because, people are opening their eyes and becoming awoke as to how all this gray washing is taking place. And a lot of it is taking place over the media and using TV. TV is a prime example. It's a brainwashing tool, and even movies is a brainwashing mechanism. And it says, over time, we expected a tsunami of actors. Let's scroll down. I already read that part. But the outrage isn't quite the same when gray actors portray characters of color. Exactly. And like I said, and it should be outrage because it's people, they're already hoarding all the movie brawls, and having them playing actors of colors, and there's plenty of actors that need roles that are of color. It don't make no sense that they have to play these parts because they have plenty of other minority or other actors of color that could play that part. And would do a better job of it because they are more spiritually connected and grounded to that character, more so than that Caucasian who's an outsider. Outsider looking in. You can't be that person because spiritually, and because you're not that person. You don't even have the ancestral roots to it, so you should not be playing that part. And it should definitely go to the person that supposed to play the part. And it says here, even it should go to the person that the storyline is based on, especially biographies and historical type bios that the movie is portraying. But it says even when often they are based off of real life people of color. And you're starting to see them tapping into people of color's parts. And it's terrible. And they're notorious for doing it. You saw it all the time when movies first came out. That's all you saw. Playing minority parts when they have plenty of minorities that can play the part. And it says, think gray washing, blackface, and yellowface are things of the past. Get ready to cringe. Here 25 times gray actors played people of color and no one really gave a shit. Exactly. And I wouldn't say people gave a shit. It's just, they say they don't think of, I think the people who don't give a shit is the Caucasian because they are hoarding all the money and the resources and they could pass that space on stuff that don't belong to them, that has nothing to do with them. So they don't give a shit, but minorities do. It's just that they're constantly being ignored. We voiced this, our disapproval of this for a very long time, but a lot of people don't listen. But here, I'm not going to go read through all of this, but I'm just going to show you some of the parts. Like here is Angelina Jolie playing Marianne Pearl. I was really shocked because when I saw the movie, I didn't look at the whole thing, but I remember seeing it, and I was trying to see who she was playing. And it's true, she should not play this part because other women of the same ethnicity or similar that could have played this role. There's already not enough roles for women of color, especially African Americans or American Aboriginals that could play indigenous people that could play this part. And having it taken and done by a Caucasian is not right. It's not right at all. I disagree with that. But then it has Ben Affleck as Antonio Mendez. Another prime example is plenty of Hispanic actors out there that oftentimes are looking for parts and roles to play, and instead of having another indigenous or person to play the part, you still having a Caucasian play that part instead. And here's another one. This guy here, this is horrible right here. Everybody knows that Michael Jackson was an American Aboriginal. He was indigenous. He's an original American, an American, aka African American, American Aborigine, and they got a Caucasian playing his part, which is totally inaccurate. There's plenty of actors who could have played this part much better because they're the same ethnicity as Michael Jackson, and also they're more in tune to who he is, more so than this Caucasian would ever be. He may feel like he could fit in because he might have been in part of Black culture perhaps, or grew up around Black people, or but it still should have went to someone, because too many American Aboriginal people who are actors who are talented. There are plenty out there who never get a chance because it's always hoarded by Caucasians, and there are plenty of Caucasian roles to play that he could have played. They should have selected a different author. And here go another. And Mickey Rooney playing Mr. Yuniyoshi. See, another example. And see, the list goes on. And I'll just scroll down here. Another one. Y'all can see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to stop right here. It's some more. You're going to see this is the one about the avatar I was talking about. The Mongoloids, Indians are supposed to be playing this part, but instead they have nothing but Caucasians up here, and they have the Indians in the background, but have this Caucasians playing. They are not in Caucasian, and the movie seemed so awkward. It was horrible. I couldn't even look at it because they didn't have the indigenous people playing the part. The Mongoloids playing the part. They should have been in there, and I'm pretty sure there's some Indian, they could have even used Hispanics and be more accurate, having a Hispanic person playing that part more so than a Caucasian, because Hispanics are related to are related to the Mongoloids. They have a lot of the ancestry in their genetics, and it would have made more sense having either a Hispanic or a Mongoloid. It'd been preferably to use a Mongoloid Indian. That would have been more accurate. Than having a Caucasian playing that part. So, and that's the example I used at the beginning of the movie. And if you look at the cartoon actually had real Native people playing that part. They had the drawings were darker skin complexion people with Asian features. But anyway, I'm going to leave a link to this particular this article. So I'm gonna have the link there in below, but I would love to see what you all think. Do you think there is enough representation of people of color in film? Do you believe that there needs to be a change? Do you believe that it is the media, the movies and TV represent or have enough minority actors playing parts? And do you think it's a balance and it's something that should be changed? And do you think it's part of the problem of white supremacy in this country? I already told you all what I think, but I would love to hear what you all think about this. And it has 25 different films, and y'all could check it out. But yeah, I would love to hear from you guys. So let me stroll back up to the top. So please tell me what you think. Please like this video, and don't forget to subscribe. And don't forget to check out my website and my blogs, and I have some backup channels. I have the links below for that as well. I also have a GoFundMe, PayPal, and a Patreon. Y'all can also check that out, and please donate if you can. And until next time, peace, family, love, and peace. Bye bye.